What's up, y'all? It's your boy JTMM, aka Just 10 More Minutes, aka the Freaking 10, back again. Sabaton history. Now, the Bannockburn video yesterday and the song, you know, I've thought about it since listening to it, and I really kind of I came to the conclusion at the end of why it just didn't connect with me, and it was just because of that continuous beat without breaking up the chorus, the verse, all of that stuff, and it seemed too continuous, right? And now again, that's not, it doesn't make it a bad song, it just makes it one that doesn't necessarily appeal to me. That being said, though, obviously, you know, there's history with Scotland and William Wallace and what's been glorified in Hollywood, and now you've got this, I forget the first name, but Bruce, that was coming in. And so this part of the history is what grabbed me, because, you know, Hollywood embellishes things. Hollywood makes things bigger for the sake of drama. And this is kind of getting into more of that historical factual piece. And that's what I wanted to hear about with this. And that's what led me to this. That being said, let's check it out.
I'm Indy Nidell.
And I'm Joachim from Sabaton, and this is Sabaton history.
The song Blood of Bannockburn is about the battle of the same name and Robert the Bruce, the man who led the Scots to victory there. The Scots fought for their independence from the English for over 30 years before achieving final victory, and a major step on that road to victory was the Battle of Bannockburn.
And our song, Blood of Bannockburn, is our only song in a major key.
Wow.
I
Joachim is going to tell you a bit about the song itself, but first, I'm going to tell you the history. Now, the Scottish defeat in the Battle of Falkirk in 1289 at the hands of the English had seemingly destroyed the Scottish independence movement once and for all. William Wallace, the guy from Braveheart, had abandoned his title as the Guardian of Scotland, embittered by the Scottish nobles who had betrayed him during the battle. On the run, he was again betrayed and handed over to the English, who emasculated, strangled, and quartered him in 1305. The Scottish earls surrendered and swore their fealty to Edward I of England, the one they called Longshanks. But there was still a strong anti-English feeling throughout the country, with nobles still plotting an insurgency. Such a noble was Robert Bruce, also known as the Bruce. He was the former Earl of Carrick and the 7th Lord of Annandale, and had a strong claim to the Scottish throne, but also many enemies among his fellow Scots. In 1306, Bruce made his move and secured the throne, and once crowned King of Scotland, rallied the Scottish earls for war with England. With high hopes, he led his forces into the field and got his army wrecked during the Battle of Methven. In fact, Bruce barely escaped with a small band of loyal followers, his army gone, his lands confiscated and distributed amongst his Scottish enemies. Even his wife, sisters, and daughters were captured and imprisoned, his brother tortured and executed. But from his darkest hour emerged one of the greatest comebacks in history.
Yeah, I forget how long ago. I mean, we're talking about the 1300s. I never realized what they had done to William Wallace after that. You know, like I said, I never watched the movie. I don't, yeah. I just seen the clips, you know, that everybody saw when it was in its heyday. So that part of this is interesting. I didn't realize how long they had fought for their independence. You know, I was sitting there and I was like, wow, you know, we're talking 1300s, and just what, I mean, you think about the lands, you think about word of mouth and things like that, and just to be able to build up that support. I mean, all of that stuff fascinates me when it comes to history, of just you know, you look at today and how we can do things such as this, and you go back even farther. You know, we think about what our parents went through and what our grandparents went through, but now, you know, you're taking it back to a time of nothingness is not the right word, but I mean, man, you're talking just a completely different world that, you know, you truly can't imagine. You know, you think about what had to happen to survive, you know, both clothing with homes, you know, trying to stay warm with fire, and what it took to cook meals, and you know, farming and all of that stuff, just the pure essentials of living itself. And it just so many thoughts of wonder. And then you get into, you know, leaders that spark up this revolt against, after 30 years of a battle, or battling, I shouldn't say, um, for your independence. What hope would people have? I mean, at some point, what people say of not again, right? That's the part of it. Is you know, you've gone through this for so long. At what point do you say enough is enough and it is what it is? And these people didn't. And that's it always goes to those what ifs of, what if they wouldn't have stood up? Would it have still continued? What would it be like? And obviously we can't change history, but it's one of those where it's like inspiration of just not giving up and believing in something such as independence and what's right for the people, to be able to gather that support and say, let's go for it. Just fascinating stuff. So many different thoughts.
Robert Bruce returned from his hiding place in the Western Isles, where he recruited new warriors to his cause and began a relentless guerrilla war against his enemies, raiding English camps or ambushing their supply lines. They hid among the locals, who also hated the English oppressors. Robert Bruce became a tactician, finding the weak points of his enemies and using the terrain to his advantage. He took back his castles and gathered ever more supporters to his cause. One by one, he destroyed his internal enemies on the battlefields, took their strongholds, making him an actual king of Scotland once again. Of course, this war did not escape the attention of the English throne. Now, Longshanks had died by this time, and his son Edward II was king. But until 1314, he was distracted by his own internal enemies and his affairs in France. But the new king in the north was a serious threat to England's frontier. So Edward assembled an army of over 18,000 men, among them heavy cavalry and Welsh longbowmen, and led them to crush the Scottish rebellion once again. A side note here, the longbow was a recent and major innovation that revolutionized medieval warfare. Welsh bowmen had used them against Longshanks, actually, and he incorporated them into his army. The longbow was a devastating weapon, with long range, able to pierce even plate armor from shorter ranges, and with a much quicker rate of fire than the crossbow. They would later famously be used to destroy the French in battle after battle during the 100 Years' War. Contrary to popular opinion, though, longbowmen did not launch arrows high in the sky to drop onto their enemies. Okay, well, this did happen. They fought far more often at close range in order to be their most accurate and to preserve their store of expensive and limited ammunition. Anyhow, at this time, Bruce had Stirling Castle, the old residence of Scottish kings, under siege. It not only had strong symbolic significance, the position of the castle between the streams Bannockburn and the River Forth was also of strategic importance. Philip de Mowbray, the castle governor, was loyal to the English crown. Legend goes that he said he would surrender the castle to Bruce if the English did not relieve him by the end of June. Well, on June 23rd, the English army, led personally by Edward II, arrived outside of the village of Bannockburn on the other side of the stream.
This is fascinating. Like, never even knew about all this. In 18,000 men, you know, the longbow. And it makes sense with the longbow, you know, thinking about it, because, yeah, it's not like Hollywood, you know, where they shoot it up in the air. I mean, these were going to be used at, as Indy said, at closer range to be able to pierce that plate armor, which in itself is a fascinating thought. But showing up with 18,000 men, you know, you just picture this castle, right? Now they were on the other side of, I think that they showed the stream, or at least the border of Bannockburn. But yeah, knowing that 18,000, I'm interested to see what Bruce had.
Robert Bruce was now determined to fight a decisive battle. His army was probably around 8 to 10,000 men strong,
what I would think
and consisted mostly of infantry, some crossbowmen, and a few cavalrymen. He was outnumbered at least 2 to 1. Historians disagree on how much of the English army had arrived by the battle, so Bruce would have to rely on his tactical experience he had gained during his guerrilla campaign. The story of the Battle of Bannockburn goes that the vanguard of the English army crossed the stream and encountered Robert Bruce and his bodyguard. The Scots had made defensive earthworks that formed a bottleneck on the road to and through the woods, so the English could only launch a narrow frontal attack here. These earthworks also neutralized the English advantage in heavy cavalry. The English nobleman Henry de Bohun, whose father was joint commander of the vanguard, spotted the Bruce and charged him with a lance. The Bruce turned at the last moment and won the duel with his superior battle-axe-in-the-face tactic. Too right. The Scots then routed the vanguard infantry. Now, Bannockburn is not a large river by any means, but it is lined with swamps, marshland, and dense woods, through which the armored English had to struggle. The Scots on the other side were hidden in the woods. When the English attempted to cross the stream, the Scottish infantry would advance as well, in tightly packed formations known as shieldtrons or schildtrons. They carried spears and pikes, and as long as they maintained formation, the English heavy cavalry, also limited by space from getting up speed, could not hope to charge them and live through it, nor could they outflank them. As night fell, the English camped in a deep marsh and remained awake for the most part, fearing an ambush that never came. The following day, June the 24th, Edward II drove the rest of his army across the stream. Bruce moved his whole force out of the woods in 3 formations. The English now realized that the field was too small for them to fully deploy, so the archers, who would normally have been on the flanks, were now placed in the front rank. They opened fire as the Scottish advanced. Bruce ordered his cavalry to charge them, which prompted Edward to order a countercharge with his own cavalry, which blocked any possible storm of arrows. The Scottish formations did not break, and the English charge went horribly wrong. The Scots infantry advanced, pushing their enemy back into the steep-banked ditch of the Bannockburn, where the English soldiers were trapped by the weight of their armor and slaughtered.
Wow. I want to go back and look at this real quick. Yeah, this part right here. So yeah, they were going full on with those archers. So then as they flanked,
front rank. They opened fire as the Scottish advanced. Bruce ordered his cavalry to charge them, which prompted Edward to order a countercharge with his own cavalry, which blocked any possible storm of arrows.
Wow.
The Scottish formations
And they weren't thinking that it would block them from using their own arrows. Wow. Brilliant freaking move. And then to back him up against that. Oh, wow.
Did not break, and the English charge went horribly wrong. The Scots infantry advanced, pushing their enemy back into the steep banked ditch of the Bannockburn, where the English soldiers were trapped by the weight of their armor and slaughtered. Edward's bodyguards barely got their lord away from the fray, and many famous English knights fell prey to Scottish pikes or were captured for ransom. Seeing their king flee the battle, the rest of the English army turned their backs and ran as well. Stirling Castle surrendered, and much of the fleeing army was killed making its way back to the English border, either by Bruce's pursuing army or by the local inhabitants. It is estimated that the English lost over 10,000 men, perhaps many more, and the financial strain of the ransom of over 150 nobles weakened Edward's rule. The battle destroyed England's ability to fight the Scottish for years, leaving northern England vulnerable. Robert was really the Bruce at this point, as his name became legend and his authority after the battle was unchallenged. This was the main turning point on the road to Scottish independence, which was signed by treaty with King Edward III, Edward II's son and successor, after Robert the Bruce invaded northern England in 1328.
Well, not only does this song feature bagpipe, but we also got some Hammond organ in this one.
And it was, in fact, you that played the organ on this.
Yes, it was. Actually, I came into the band as an organ player, and or I started in music as an organ player.
I bet a lot of people don't actually know that that's what you did when you first joined Sabaton.
Yeah, I was writing songs, and they told me, you know, can't you sing until we find a singer? The lazy bastards. Well, here I am.
So were you like singing on demos, and they'd say, and we'd send these around, and somebody could maybe take over?
Yeah,
stuff?
actually, that's what happened. They. The lazy bastards, as I call them, and I will refer to them as that for this one, they actually told me, one day, we're going to record a demo. And I went, well, we don't have a singer. And they said, well, we'll use the demo to find a singer. And that actually made sense.
And so you were just doing like a placeholder vocals.
Yeah, okay, it's something, it sounded like shit.
Now, do we get to hear it one day?
I hope not. I certainly hope not.
Okay, so that means I'm probably not cutting to it right now.
Oh, no, please don't.
Okay, not cutting to it right now. But that's really interesting. And I play keyboards as well and stuff.
Yes.
And we both played with different Swedish bands and different touring around Sweden. It's been a lot of fun. We were touring basically we started touring Sweden at the same time.
Yeah, we did.
I mean, you guys started playing in the 99 or what?
Yeah.
And the first Swedish bands I started really touring around Sweden with was also in 99 and 2000.
Oh, yeah.
Now, back to the song, though, because this is about Blood of Bannockburn. One thing about this song is you can't help but feel it's sort of an inspirational song, when you...
Yeah, I mean, it is in a major key, as I said, and it's such a good vibe live. Seriously. I mean, it was kind of popular on the album, but live, that song really comes to life in a way. People are happy, and especially playing this one in Scotland.
Yeah,
that is a blast. We've done that in Scottish war paint and everything, and kilts.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, do we have a photo?
Maybe we do, actually.
Boom! All right, there we go.
So I was thinking about it when they said that about, the song coming alive. See, that's where I think the song works, is you play that live in front of, it's a lot like the same thing for the song in Brazil. And then, I don't think it was Russia, but it was another one where they used it and played it. And it was just, it may have been the Russian one that The last one that I did, sorry, my mind escapes me, but it was the cover that they did. Those live in those cities, I can only imagine. So, you know, as much as it didn't connect with me because of the history behind it, I can certainly imagine it connecting with those fans there. And it just live, I bet this song is insane because it is upbeat, because people can get energized with it. I get it. You know, again, that's why I say it's not a bad song, just not my taste. All right, let's finish it out. I didn't realize there was only about 30 seconds left.
All right, Blood of Bannockburn, this uplifting song in a major key, is on the album The Last Stand.
And that's all for today.
But we'll see you next time on Sabaton History.
Yeah, I bet that is killer live.
All right, soldiers, you know the drill. You subscribe to the YouTube channels. It's Sabaton History, regular Sabaton channel, World War II, and Time Ghost. You click that playlist, find more cool videos, and then you support us on Patreon. That's what makes this shit happen, okay? Now on the ground and give me 20!
You know, that history, you know, it definitely says a lot. I'm fascinated by those techniques that were used. You know, again, I've said many a times in the strategy of war, that's what's fascinating is the attack, the counterattack, and kind of trying to get into the heads of what your enemy is going to do. That plays out in sports, in business, all of that. And, you know, and that's why, as they say, you know, the art of war is something that a lot of people are required to read. But this, you know, and this is kind of a proof of it, of using the terrain, similar to how it was done in the Winter War, right? Where Russia just wasn't ready for that dense forest with that type of weather. And so it was used against them. And that was a lot like this, right? They weren't ready for those marshes and for these kind of surprise attacks, and they didn't know the lay of the land well enough to know. I mean, with the way that they set up the ground, all of that, they were just kind of at a disadvantage, which, you know, was a huge part of that loss. Man, that is the brilliance of war strategy. You know, you just gotta be able to not overthink it, keep it simple, and just use your advantages that you have. That really goes for anything in life, though, right? All you're going to do is you're going to look at a situation, you're going to take the facts, and you're going to make the best decision that you can. And it's just something we all do every day with every decision. What is it? What is our, you know, success criteria? What do we think we could do? Measure those pros, measure those cons, and make a decision. Sometimes we win, sometimes we lose, but generally we always learn something in both victory and defeat, and that's what drives us every day. So another amazing piece to be able to watch. You know, more coming, obviously on Monday. Don't know what's going to come next. I'll take a look through the history episodes, go from there, as usual. Thanks for checking this out with me. It's not as a long video. It's only at 24 minutes, but this was only at 12 minutes here. So right on pace for the double time with the pauses and such. So, you know, if there's other independence ones, I saw quite a few actually, that were outside of the World War piece that kind of piqued my interest a little bit that I may check out. But I may just go through and look to see what other war pieces are out there. Because I'm thinking that I'm going to somehow work Indy's Time Ghost and the World War II channel stuff in to the regular rotation. It's just I haven't looked to see how long the episodes are and all of that to see what it would take to record that. Haven't looked into that yet. That being said, that's going to do it for this one. I'll see you on the next one. Y'all know who I am and what I'm about. I'm JTMM. Like, subscribe, and share. I'm out.